Hey guys, what's up? Kitkat here. So I'm not gonna lie to you, alright? It is currently 9:07. It's currently 9:07, which is 7 minutes past when I usually go to bed, right? So what I did is I stayed up pretty late, and then I went and had a shower. I was all nice and happy. I was all nice and happy, as you do, as you are. And I realized I have not recorded the podcast yet, and I'm supposed to go to bed by now. So this is going to be a special episode today. This is an episode that I'm going to be recording, well, getting ready for bed and doing some extra work. Because I have 45 minutes where I should be going to sleep, but instead I'm here recording a stupid fucking podcast for my stupid fucking fans. So that's fun because I refuse to skip a day. I'm even going to edit this later, so that's fun. Okay, so I might move around the room a little bit so the mic's gonna stop picking me up as well. That's why it gets louder when I'm up there, and that's why I might have sounded worse before. I can't hear myself right now. Okay, so and I'm still gonna obviously. I assume it's still hear me. So oh my god, holy shit. What should I talk about? Should I talk about this is a real podcast, right? What am I gonna talk about? My hair is wet right now because I would love to give you some ASMR, but I'm scared that the water's gonna get in my microphone and kill it, and I don't have the money to repeat that right now, so that's fun. Oh, okay, so let me get changed quickly. Let me get into some clothes. I'm putting on my t-shirt right now. T-shirt and undershirt, put them on at the same time. Pretty much a one piece at this point. The one piece is real. Can we get much higher? Oh my god, that was a bad voice crack. Let's slow down a little bit. Just talk normal speed, and I'll explain to you what I'm doing. So I'm putting on my shirt right now, as I just said, and I'm having a lot of fun this week. This past week has been okay. So not great, but so one thing that happened this week, right, is shit. One thing that happened this week is I got really, really annoyed at my computer and threatened to throw it out my window and piss on it. Which, not quite a normal reaction to anything. No one wants to do that to their computer. They break it, pissing on it and throwing it out a window. It's closer up here. But so what's been happening to my PC recently? My piece recently, if you will, is it's been shutting off quite a lot during games while I play games, and it's probably the GPU, and it is the GPU. I know for a fact it's GPU because it's a rendering it, or not rendering it, but so it'll just lose. The game will crash that I'm playing, and my GPU will stop displaying, and then when it breaks, so does the rest of the computer, obviously, because one piece of the computer breaks, the rest of it breaks. So that's fun. So I got really, really annoyed at it. I had no idea what was happening, and I reset my computer, completely. I may have lost a couple cool files. I can no longer go into my past projects, like the Yuri video and the Genshin video. I do still have my past projects, files from them, but I don't have I don't have some of the files. I can probably still go into a couple of them, because I did save the autosave file from Premiere Pro. So, but I definitely lost a lot of stuff from the Yuri video, because I took a lot of screenshots and edited them, which you lose, which sucks. So, I can probably still go in, and I might even be able to repair it to it again. But it's a shame that I no longer have access to the file, just in case I ever want to go back in there and take something, or remember how I did something. Putting on my clothes. Yeah, that's right, I was doing a podcast while naked. What? You gonna imagine it in your brain? Yeah, think about it. Think about me naked. Gets you aroused, doesn't it? Gets you all hot and steamy up in your room. Talking about hot and aroused and being hot and steamy, I've been reading a lot of Ero manga recently, because I finished the Yuri section. I haven't finished it, obviously, there's some I haven't read, but a lot of it is just not fun, not good to read. And the important ones I already read, or some of them just haven't been updated a long time, they're very old. I've gone very far into the Yuri catalog, I've gone very far. You could probably ask me about any of them, and I may not remember it, but I probably read it. but some I haven't. So I decided to go into the ecchi and ero section, which has been fun. Obviously, one issue with that is I read a lot of manga at school. I read a lot of manga at school, which obviously, you know, I could get away with reading yuri manga at school because the most of it is, it's mostly kissing and stuff. There's not too much super explicit stuff, but yeah, suffice to say, ero manga is not the same deal. There's actually quite a lot of skin shown in ero manga, would you know? I wouldn't believe it either, you know, but it just so happens to be that. What a shame. He was a good man. But Runway died. I'm gonna leave it. Where should I put this? I think I'm gonna put on my clothes. Put it in there. That's where that's gonna go. Cause I got a lot of laundry right now. I can't like laundry. And my underwear, my undergarments, if you will. Yeah, picture that, me with underwear. That's so epic. And so I go to school with Rancid Discharge, who's been on the podcast. Say hi, Rancid Discharge. Say hi in the comments if you're listening to this, because she does listen to the podcast sometimes. I mean, sometimes, you know. I know someone else does listen to the podcast quite a lot. And I kind of like, I don't necessarily wish they had stopped, but I just don't like having, what do you call it? Fake views or whatever I call it. Hollow views. Because I remember that guy's, the person who does watch it, your dad was at the art showcase recently, and one thing that kind of, it's a pet peeve of mine, is when, hold on, I'm just, okay, go to there. Pet peeve of mine is, right up close to the microphone, a pet peeve of mine is, sorry, I've been saying this a lot, a pet peeve of mine is when people only show up to something because they have a connection to it through something else, not because they genuinely enjoy what's happening. I remember your father came to the art showcase and he walked up to your photo that you took in photography, and he took a photo of your photo because he was so proud of it, but it demeans the artwork itself when he does that, because he doesn't care about the art itself. He doesn't care about anything that's actually has to do with the art. He only cares about the fact that you were the one who took it. You could have anything displayed, but it was simply because your name was attached to it. And I'm not trying to attack you or your father personally, because this is a very common thing among parents. I remember when I was young, my mom said, because I don't care about the other students, or something along the lines when I asked her whether or not she wants to stay for the whole performance, for a performance, and she said, no, I'm only going to stay for your part because I don't care about the rest of the kids. And it's like, it really demeans my part when you don't care about anyone else's. I would rather that my parents neglected the work I did if they did not believe it to be of a high quality or good quality. And obviously that's not everyone. A lot of people have a very, they don't care about that sort of stuff. I'm actually a type of person who's very strange in that way. I don't let other people drag me down. Oh, am I bleeding? No, I'm not bleeding. But it's like, you're only watching this or listening to this because you're someone who knows me in real life. You're someone who discovered this through, you knew me as my real name before you knew me as Kitkat. So it's simply because of that fact that you listen to this. And it's like, would you listen to this if it wasn't someone you knew? If you discovered this naturally, would you still listen to it? Would you still care? I'm getting really deep and sentimental for some strange reason. Was I going to do work? I think I was going to do some work on this podcast. Maybe I should have a little image. I actually I had this VTuber model, or not quite a model, but it was a little guy on the screen who moved around in accordance with my voice. I wonder if I can find the file. It'll be in here. It'll be in the it'll be in the desktop. It will be in no, it'll be in D. It will be in Program. No. Users. Kitkat. It'll be on desktop. 2023. VideoTube Mini. And then you can launch it like this. And I would like to change. I'd like to remove image, remove image. So now, and then change this so that it goes into D. No. Pictures, camera roll, pics. And now I should be able to attach a window to it. I believe game capture should work. Specific window. I'd like to get mini, and I'd like to put it down here in the corner. No, I'd like to put it right in the center. So you see this? It's moving around like this. That's what I was going to show you. This is the VTuber model. It's not quite a VTuber. Well, that's a cool effect. It's like a whip. That's enough playing around with OBS. You can close that. I can just have that on my desktop, ready to use. Okay, so I'm also going to set a alarm for 10 o'clock in the, no, not 10 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, because I have to wake up early tomorrow. Not early, but I have to wake up tomorrow. And, you know, I've sort of left this podcast really, really late, which is why I'm talking super slowly and sort of out of my brain right now. So it should be in alarms, right? So if I go to alarms, oh, I do have to have the volume up, don't I? I'm going to turn the volume all the way up. Go to alarms and turn on 7 o'clock. My alarm is One Bear by MF Doom. I wonder if that picked up on the microphone, I'm not sure. There's also a vibration that I made, a custom vibration that I made on my phone to sync up with that. So I'm going to have that play right in the morning for me. So that's fun. I really do not know what to talk about. I'm not going to display my screen. Oh yeah, I'm not going to display my screen. Oh, whatever. You guys, because I'm just going to blur it, because I don't really feel like editing tonight, or for very long at least. Oh, it's going to be a fucking like hour long. Oh, it's going to be like an hour long. Okay, there's not going to be a funny little animation. I guess I'm just going to upload the file raw, or perhaps I could just put the image there and then have a drawing of a graph of a. I'm gonna take my gloves off. They're kind of itchy right now because I'm not gaming or something. I'm just sort of talking, so they're really focusing on that itch. 14 minutes. Damn, this is not turning out how I thought it would. This is not going nearly as well as I thought it would. Is there anything I can do to make this podcast more entertaining? I want to talk about last week's podcast with you guys quickly. Kitkast fans out there, what happened? Why was the last week's episode the worst performing episode I've ever uploaded? it was like the best episode I've ever done, and it was so terribly received. It's insane. So that's a little sad. Um, I don't really know what else to talk about. Man, maybe this whole podcast thing I'm not quite cut out for, you know? Sometimes I feel like sometimes I don't think I can do it by myself anymore, you know? It's like at first I thought I would be able to, but I don't feel like I'm able to keep myself up enough. I'm gonna do some work. I'm gonna talk. Actually, this is a good opportunity to talk you through some of the English stuff that I've been doing. So this way I'll be able to do some work on my English paper without it'll make it like entertainment. So this is going to be a walkthrough of English for anyone who we went from not being allowed to talk to school. Oh no. We went from not being allowed to talk about school at all to doing a school paper on a podcast. All right. I'm consistent as always. So the part of the hold on, what we're doing in this assignment is finding connections between texts. So what we do is we analyze two connections that we find between a couple of texts that span across all the texts. So what I'm doing is Long Way Down, which is a book by Jason Reynolds. It is, how do I say it? It's about a kid whose brother gets murdered in sort of gang wars or street wars. And the entire book is about him going down a elevator. And as he gets to each floor, another person from his past walks in and talks to him and lets him know whether or not because he's going to go get revenge. I forgot to mention that. He's going to get revenge for his brother's murder, but as each person walks on, they let him know if should he really do this? Second thing is a article or personal essay called We Should All Be Feminists, which is by an African woman talking about why we should treat every gender and just everyone equally, really. It's sexism bad, really, which it is bad. Third one is The Mighty Pen. This was obviously one given to me by a teacher. But so essentially The Mighty Pen is about a story about a Polynesian man who got I'd say falsely arrested, because although he wasn't technically falsely arrested, it was a justified arrest. It wasn't morally justifiable. It was legally justifiable, but it was not morally justifiable. Essentially, the Polynesian man, had been caught with a 40-cent comb that he had quote-unquote stolen from his employer. And so, obviously, it was 40 cents. The employer that he had stolen from was never contacted, and the man was arrested. Oh. And the man was arrested. Which is bad, because that's obviously racism. The cops are doing it because he's Polynesian. And to prove this, a white man stole a quote-unquote stole a pen from his employer, a pen of similar worth, and went to the police station and turned himself in. And the police's response to this was, stop wasting our time. He had done the exact same thing as the Polynesian man, but he was not being given any punishment for it, whereas the Polynesian man had been given punishment for it, showing that there was clear racism in the system to how police treat different races. My fourth one is called The Last Sober Driver. It's a personal essay by a Muslim man about his experience being a non-alcoholic in a alcoholic culture that is New Zealand. Yeah, really, it's pretty simple. So I'm going to read you through what I've done so far for my essay. Number 1, Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds is a story of a boy's internal conflict as he should take whether or not he should take revenge for the murder of his brother, or if he should disobey what he's been taught. Peer pressure is one of the main themes in the story. The rules are a massive conflict for Will as he struggles to choose between following the rules and avenging his brother, or forgetting what has happened to him and living his life. This relates back to peer pressure and as it's what he fears the people he respects will think of him. So that's not a very good paragraph, and I'm thinking of rewriting it, which we might do here now. This quote to enforce this is, the rules are shown in this quote. Number 1, no crying. No crying. Don't. No matter what. Don't. No matter what. Don't. Number 2, no snitching. Don't. No matter what. Don't. Number 3, revenge. If someone you love gets killed, find the person who killed them and kill them. The theme of the text is pressure put onto Will by these rules. He is constantly finding within himself, through the personification of those in his life who were affected by the rules. He's trying to decide whether or not to obey everything that he's been taught and grow up learning. Everything he's been taught and grew up learning, or to go with his own judgment and end the cycle of violence. Buck taunts Will about the rules by saying, right, you gonna follow the rules. The rules, huh? Buck is making fun of Will for having such a dependence on the rules. By saying, right, you gonna follow the rules, he's really saying that there is no way that Will will actually follow through with it, because both of them know deep down that the rules are stupid and make no sense, and the idea of following them is just as stupid. So that's it's not even okay. So the issue with that one is that I didn't actually talk about any themes, right? I didn't actually analyze connections. I do analyze a connection in the last paragraph, but I didn't analyze 2 connections. I just talked about peer pressure and following the rules. What I need to do is find another connection. And my other connection was racism. The whole reason why they're in the position they are is because of racism and segregation, forcing them into these terrible living conditions. The issue is, though, there isn't really a quote about racism in the text, because I didn't think about it when I chose that connection. I can't really go back because I have 30 minutes to finish this. What I could do is make it up. So talk about racism, and then instead of giving a direct quote, just talking about the overall theme, which might not work, but that's fine. Let me tell you the final part of this. The text is similar to Last Sober Drive as... Hold on, let me quickly get rid of a highlight that I've done over... There we go. The text is similar to The Last Sober Drive as it deals with the idea of having other people's ideals pushed onto you and forcing you to do things that, when looked at through an objective lens, don't really make much sense at all. In The Last Sober Driver, it takes the form of peer pressure through drink despite his religion and personal preferences because it's fun or normal. This is a more direct form of peer pressure compared to Long Way Down, but both share the same principles. Number 2, The Last Sober Driver. The Last Sober Driver is a recalling of a Muslim man's experience when it comes to drinking culture in New Zealand and how it's impacted his social life and the way he looks at certain people. One significant connection in this text is the idea of peer pressure, as in him being constantly tempted to drink alcohol by people who he considered friends. This is clearly shown in the quote, you think this makes you a man because you don't drink? It doesn't. This quote was sent to him by someone he considered a friend. This text really brings into question the culture that surrounds drinking in places like New Zealand, America, Britain, and other areas of the world where alcohol is seen as socially acceptable, even though it's widely known that alcohol is incredibly bad for your health. A common rebuttal to this argument is that people are simply doing what they want with their bodies without affecting anyone else, so therefore there is no issue. But the point of view fails to take into account drunk drivers crashing and killing innocent people, young people inebriating themselves while still having developing brains, nerving themselves in the future, and pregnant women drinking, subsequently hiding the chance of their child to gain some mental or physical disability. Every social interaction seemed to hinge on alcohol, from high school parties to office functions, to networking events to open mics. Everyone I met felt guarded until alcohol opened them up. Alcohol has become so commonplace, no one questions when it's present at a party, or if you were given it as a gift. To provide a contrast, if someone gave you marijuana, legally obviously, as a gift, it would be a lot more polarizing, despite the fact that it is actually less harmful to a degree. It's only because alcohol has become so deeply rooted in the current day society that we see it as a normal or okay. This links back a long way down as the theme of peer pressure, because it's saying that these people are being told to do something that they clearly don't want to do because of the culture that's being presented to them. They never met at a time. It's pre-established by people they never met at a time they weren't alive. It reminds me of a part out of Kendrick Lamar's song "The Heart Part 5." I apologize for the swearing in this quote, but it's very relevant to Muhammad Hassan's reference. It's very relevant, and also Muhammad Hassan, the person who wrote this, the thing that I'm referencing, the Last Uber Driver, references a Kendrick song in his story, which was swimming pools, by the way. So I feel it only makes sense for me to take one out myself. But that's the culture. Crack a bottle, hard to deal with the pain when you're sober. By tomorrow, we forget the remains. We start over. That's the problem. Our foundation we trained was never to accept whenever follows. Dehumanize, insensitive, scrutinize the way we live. For you and I, enemy shook my hand. I promise I meet you in a land where no equal is your equal. Never say I ain't told you. Nah, in a land where hurt people hurt more people. Fuck calling it culture. Kendrick Lamar on The Heart Part 5. Overall, this paragraph is fine. I, again, do not actually reference two connections, but that's mostly because this one didn't have two connections. We didn't have to do connections for all four of them. We only had to do it for three of them. So this was the one that I skimped. Or I only did one connection. I did the theme of peer pressure. So I did double down on that peer pressure theme, and I think that this one is fine, but I will have to rework the first paragraph. 3. We should all be feminists. The third text I'll be referencing is We Should All Be Feminists by, and I'm so sorry about butchering this, Chimamanda Noisy. Look, I'm just gonna call her Chi, just to avoid any sort of mispronunciations, because I do genuinely want to try my best, but I don't want to come off as racist or insensitive or anyway. In this personal, the third text I'm referencing is We Should All Be Feminists by Chi. It's a personal essay / persuasive piece. Oh, I need to get rid of that slash. It's a personal essay, or persuasive. Is a personal essay or persuasive opinion piece that is attempting to persuade the reader that our current societal view on gender roles is ultimately counterproductive and oppressive to everyone, but mostly females. In this text, Chi talks about how we raise boys to be very stereotypically masculine, don't show feelings, be the breadwinner, or at least pretend to be, and protect everyone, that kind of stuff. With the fact she lays out, we as an audience can infer that this is only going to harm people in the future. By assigning certain actions and feelings to someone does not decide it. What the fuck is my writing? By assigning certain actions and feelings to someone does not decide it creates feelings to something. Someone does not actions and feelings to something someone does not decide. It creates a lack of nuance in human and trivializes our actions to an emotional response from an emotional response to that of what we were supposed to do. She speaks of a rape that happened to a girl by a group of boys. She says they've been taught to think men do not have any control over their sexual actions, when in reality it was likely much more complex than that, and not as simple as boys will be boys. It reminds me of a meme I saw. A meme I saw which had a frog sitting on a mushroom with text to it saying, "Not all men, but somehow always a man," which is saying that men are not given enough responsibility for their actions, especially when in the context of sex or sexual conduct. This meme surfaced during an internet drama in which a streamer was caught on an AI porn website that contained AI deepfake of mostly female streamers. You can see how a streamer looking at pornography of people who are essentially his co-workers could be seen as bad. I think Ludwig summed it up best in this quote. My balls being leaked is a funny thing. My balls being leaked is a funny thing, and then a woman's boobs get leaked leads to, like, a bunch of teenage kids, acne-faced teenage kids jerking off. Men simply do not get punished enough when they do things like this. Women will get called sluts and whores, while men will be called players and ladies' men. Boys will be boys. No, boys will be decent human beings. This is a quote in line. This is quoted in lines: "We hurt boys in how we raise them. We teach them to be very masculine. We define masculine in a very small way. Being masculine is like being in a small cage, and we put boys inside a cage. We teach boys to be afraid of showing fear." Chi also talks about how marriage is shown to little girls and how it's glorified to seem like a glamorous thing that cements you as a woman. That is shown in the line, "Because I'm a female, I'm supposed to aspire to marriage. I'm supposed to make my life choices always thinking that marriage is the most important." How much time do we have left? 30 minutes? Okay. What the author is trying to say is that teaching is further pushing the idea that women are to be by men's side, not only ever serving as an addition to his life rather than their own person. Oh, I spat on my microphone. This is supporting the idea that prejudice, as we are treating people differently because of something that is not decided by them and simply given to them at birth. This think is ultimately destructive. This thinking, thank you very much. This thinking is ultimately destructive and regressive to society, as it represses groups of people and simplifies humans from complex beings, each with their own goals and aspirations, into these one-note stereotypes. Only meant to do one thing for their whole life, and to live by a strict set of rules given to them by people who aren't even alive anymore and have never been a part of their life. Cool, very good. Then the last paragraph, the mighty pen. The story of the mighty pen is a story of a blatant racism. The story of the mighty pen is a story of blatant racism in the law and how policemen conduct themselves when doing their job. This text showcases a time in New Zealand when Polynesians would often get discriminated against by policemen. This is shown when a Polynesian man is caught with a stolen comb. He is immediately taken into custody with his employer, without his employer even being alerted, despite the worth of the comb. Later, when a white man read about it, he stole a pen from his employer and handed himself into the police. He was simply told to go back to his work and stop bothering the police. This is shown in the quote: "The police refused to arrest him because his employer didn't want to press charges. For Williams, the hypocrisy was clear. Here's me. I confess to having committed the same offense with an item about the same value, and yet my employer gets approached and I do not get prosecuted. Whereas the young neo man working in an Auckland factory does not get prosecuted without reference to his employer. Does get prosecuted without reference to his employer." Another idea shown in this text is the idea that although having a good thing happen is not enough. Although a good thing happened, it's not enough. That means that although the Polynesian man was saved, it's ultimately useless if nothing changes. It took a white man extending his privilege for anyone to be saved. Watching it unfold, Ness knew that it was only a hard-headed white person who had the empathy for brown people could not only follow through but get away with what Williams did. This quote shows that although what happened was good, it's annoying that it had to be done by a white man instead of another Polynesian. This is similar to the text, "We should all be feminists," as it shows how the world changes because of the predetermined aspects of yourself, such as your race or sex. Oh. So what I'm thinking is, I could probably, so that one's not great because I do not reference another part of what I was talking about. So what I think I can do is just, this is all good and it reinforces my point doubly. So what I think I can do is just add to the bottom of it and instead talk about another aspect of it, but just start anew, So we're using this thing called the text axle, which is, everyone's got a different way of writing, and this is the structure that we're using this season. So I'm just going to go text axle. That's my plan. So we're going to start with the long way down paragraph. So if I go to my other thing, the other thing I want to talk about was the whole reason they're in the position they are is because of blatant racism. So peer pressure is one of the main themes in the story. So I'm going to go down here and go, another theme presented in long way, I need quotation mark, long way down, is the idea of racism. Peer pressure is another main theme of the story. The rules, the idea of racism. It's not really a theme though in Long Way Down. I think I can twist this. I think I can find a way to twist it. Although never explicitly said by Jason Reynolds, although never explicitly said by Jason Reynolds, I do believe that I still believe that it is, I do believe that it is a hidden theme. I do believe it is a hidden theme that's more unspoken but underlying. I'm gonna have to really show some good oh shit. I'm gonna have to really show some good evidence here in order to actually show my claim as true. So, but I do believe this is a hidden theme that's more unspoken but underlying. More unspoken but underlying. I do believe this is a hidden theme that's more unspoken but underlying. Is that good enough? That's 3 lines. I think I can. Let me quickly go recheck the text Excel paragraph structure just to make sure that I'm getting everything correct. Oh, fuck. Myrtleizing sucker MCs. Topic sentence, explanation, example. So the topic sentence, so now I give an explanation. Okay, cool. So that's the topic sentence. Another theme presented. By its, and then I'm quotate, it's never explicitly said. And this is going to come off as a little informal, but I'm going to struggle to find another way to do this because I am referencing what I say here rather than talking about myself from the first. I'm talking about myself from the first person, which is not usually what you're supposed to do during formal essays, but I think I can get away with it considering that I'm only year 12. I think he's going to give me the rite of passage simply because it's just right. I think I'm just skimping it enough. By it's never explicitly said. I mean, by it's never explicitly said. I mean, I'm gonna try something really risky here, but also something that might work to my favor quite a lot. I'm gonna talk about how because it's unspoken, that makes it more effective. Racism being established in our community is one of the biggest issues. But as I just said, one of the biggest issues with it is how it's being established in our community. So it's not necessarily the fact that racism exists, but it's the fact that it's so common and that it feels like nothing's being done about it. And now, obviously, now in the modern day, stuff's obviously being done about it. But I mean, think about it. Like, what's actually happened in the law that's changed? The projects are still a thing, right? You know, there's still gang wars, Bloods and Crips. So one of the issues with it is how it's become so commonplace, it's almost unspoken. I mean, by it's never explicitly said, I mean that none of the characters ever talk directly how racism has affected them. But I believe that it is the the silence of the topic, the lack of the topic, that I believe it is the lack of the topic that makes it the most effective. That makes it the most effective. In our modern era, in our modern society, what's scary about things like racism, sexism, and sexism, drinking, and the like, is not necessarily the things themselves, bracket, although that is obviously a big issue. It is instead how commonplace the issues have become. How commonplace the issues have become, and how unspoken they are. I believe Jason Reynolds purposefully, and hey, guys, going back to podcast mode quickly, I know that I'm going to go over the 45-minute limit this time, but only because this is a stupid episode that's boring to listen to, so I'd rather make it a really long episode just in case you're getting something out of it. I don't know, I feel like if you struggle with English and you're listening to me, because I'm not going to say I'm good at English, but let's just say I'm not bad at English, so maybe listening to me talk about all this and maybe laying out my thought process, it'll make it somewhat interesting to listen to. For people who, I feel like everyone would have clicked off already, so, you know, if you're still here somehow, or whoever you are, hey, welcome here. This is going to be mostly the same stuff that we've been doing so far, but, you know, stick around for the ride, I guess. It'll be fun. I promise. Fun if you enjoy English, I guess. I believe Jason Reynolds purposely, purposely didn't bring up racism as a subject directly, while having the story of Long Way Down, be about issues that become of racism, that are birthed out of racism. Okay, let's just read this through. It's never explicitly said, I mean that none of the characters ever talk directly about how racism has affected them, but I believe that it is the lack of the topic that makes it the most effective. In our modern society, what's scary about things like racism, sexism, drinking, and the like is not necessarily the things themselves, although that is obviously a big biff issue. Nice one. A big issue is instead how commonplace the issues have become and how unspoken they are. I believe Jason Reynolds purposely didn't bring up racism as a subject directly, while having the story of Long Way Down be about the issues that are birthed from racism. Well, I'm talking about the issues that are birthed from racism. As it makes the topic all the more scarier. Perhaps so I think my teacher is going to understand what I'm trying to say here. Birthed out of racism, as it makes the topic all the more scarier. I think my Grammarly's disabled for some reason. Oh no, I just haven't logged in. I need to log into my Grammarly quickly. Wiki, wiki, wiki. He talked to himself when he needs someone to hate on. I like that quote. I need to restart my dock. And is it gonna... Okay, there we go. There's Grammarly. Grammarly. Yay! Racism. Okay, so what more can we add to this? What we've already done here with the part about racism being unspoken. So if we go back to the text Excel paragraph structure, we're looking at the topic sentence, which we've already talked about, an explanation, which we've done here. So we need to give an example. It's very difficult to give an example for racism when it's not explicitly talked about. I need to expand. Is it mixed? These characters never mention. These characters are constantly talking about the situation they are in. But never talk about why they're in it. In the first place. But never talk about why they're in it in the first place. So we're going to be going well past 10 p.m. here, which is fine because it's not fine really. I'm going to be waking up really late tomorrow, but I'm going to keep my phone next to my head so it really wakes me up in the morning with that alarm. Pray for me, gamers, that I'm not late to school tomorrow. In there about why they're in it in the first place. It's impossible to give an example from the text about racism. About the theme of racism, as the point is how it's unspoken. But the best way to give an example is to show the themes. The themes of the book. Show the themes of the book. Those how am I spelling it? Those? No, so it's those themes being gang wars, the cycles of violence, the cycle of violence, that being gang wars, the cycle of violence, peer pressure. These things are not gang wars, the cycles of violence and peer pressure. These things are not inherently born out of, are not inherently born out of racism, but in the context of the book, they are. Had Will never been born into underdeveloped neighborhoods or forced or had his contemporaries forced to do things like sell drugs to make money, he would never have had to make these decisions at all. So what I've done here is I've sort of tricked my teacher into thinking that I actually know what I'm talking about by making myself sound smart by using big words and by referencing myself in the past. What I'm really doing here is winging it really, really hard. This is a risky thing right now because there's a high chance that my teacher's going to see through my bullshit and give me a non-achieved, which is a fail. But also, it's fine. I know I'm already at an achieved level, which is like a pass. So, you know, yeah, this is cannot, it's not going to break my thing, right? Surely. I'll make sure to report back to you next podcast session whether or not I actually won this whole thing. Rebuttal? Rebuttal? Is it a rebuttal? Rebuttal. Hold on, let me search this up quick. Rebuttal. Reputation. No, reputable. Reputable. So I think that's hold on, I need to give it a link section. Link back. This is similar to We Should All Be Feminists and The Mighty Pen. This is similar to We Should All Be Feminists and The Mighty Pen, as it shows how you can have a much harder life if you're simply born into the wrong circumstances. Although being born a woman or black or Polynesian, although being born a woman, a woman or black or Polynesian, a woman, black or Polynesian, although being born a woman, black or Polynesian is not by itself a bad thing, it is undeniable that by having these traits in the modern era, you will be treated much differently and much worse. Much differently and much worse. That's good. You'll be treated life if you are simply themes being gang. Okay, cool. So there we go. That's the long way down section done. And I did sort of break the mold a little bit in terms of how I do this, but I'm sure Sir will understand. My teacher, that is. So that's paragraph 1 done. What we're going to be looking at next is the last sober driver. Now, I actually don't have a second part for the last sober driver, so we can skip that. Next is we should all be feminists. My second point for we should all be feminists is peer pressure. The idea of conforming to societal status and societal pressure is a key idea behind why we as a society still rely on these outdated viewpoints. Am I still able to? So enforce the idea of prejudice, yes. I think I can just add a part to my linking subject. This also enforces the idea of peer pressure, as we wouldn't be following these rules if they weren't already ingrained so deeply in our society. I think, is that enough? Dear peer pressure is we wouldn't be following these rules if they weren't so deeply ingrained in our society. They weren't already ingrained so deeply in our society. And the mighty pen, the other thing, oh, I already have that. Okay, so really that's all we had to do. And I am a little bit scared that I've just forced myself into a non-achieved by adding extra, but I have a little comment saying that I'd like to say, and it's, I would rather fail than, no, let me say that again. What a great quote. Let me fail. All right. I would rather fail something if it meant that while I was doing that thing, I learned something new and I progressed as a learner, than if I was to do something I've done a million times before. I'm going to try something new here on this essay, and although I'm going to be missing out on credits, it's fine if if I fail, obviously, but if I don't fail, I'm going to be getting my credits. I think that when you're a learner, you should strive to do something new every time. And a lot of my teachers tell me not to do that. They tell me that it's probably bad, but hey, I'm like, I don't know. I think that learning something new is fun. Learning new things is fun. I'm just going to stretch this out to an hour. So that's an extra 2 minutes of content you're going to get from me. Thanks to anyone who stuck it out. And I doubt there's anyone. Actually, I'm almost certain that no one is here. But if you are here, thanks so much. Because this has been a boring episode. And it's really, really late for me. But I think you can take this as an assurance from me that I'm always going to at least try to put something onto this channel. Even if it is a video where I go, here I'm going to do some homework. So listen to me do homework. I don't really know what else to say. Oh, sorry about the keyboard clanks. I'm sure you'd be able to hear them in the recording. There's not much I can do about that. And I'm also sorry that so the video's not going to have the waves on them, so like the audio waveform. But look, I'm just gonna because that adds an extra like hour onto the processing because it's coming from After Effects, and After Effects is it's very lengthy. So I'm just gonna have a little image of a guy, my funny little guy on the screen. So you're just gonna have to trust that yeah. And I'm gonna upload this video tonight, or I'm gonna upload it. I'm gonna upload it tonight. So it'll come at some point. I'm gonna upload it as soon as it's up. To anyone who's waiting for a video from me, I haven't started the next video yet, and it's already been a month, I believe. Oh, what? It's only been 10 days? Okay, well, never mind. I'm actually really good right now. I think my next video is going to be another manga video, because I've been reading a lot of manga, and honestly, I kind of enjoy making those videos. Although, I'm going to make sure that it's a flow. I'm going to try and make it flow a lot better, because I feel like my last video was way too list formatty, and I'd rather make a video that's not quite list formatty. I really should have put this stuff earlier on in the video, but whatever. It's 10:07. I should have gone to bed an hour ago, but I've gone to bed at 10:30 before, so whatever. It's fine. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Kitkat, and goodbye.